In the summer of 1967, something extraordinary happened in a small neighborhood in San Francisco. A colorful, chaotic, unprecedented cultural explosion, one that would shake the foundations of American society and echo across the world for generations. This was the Summer of Love in Haight-Ashbury. Tens of thousands of young people, students, artists, musicians, runaways, dreamers, left their lives behind and traveled west, chasing freedom, rebellion, spirituality, and the promise of a new way of living. By the mid-1960s, America was buzzing with tension. The Vietnam War was escalating, civil rights battles were intensifying, and traditional social values were being challenged at every turn. The post-war dream, the neat suburban lawns, 9-to-5 jobs, and nuclear families, felt suffocating to many young people. They saw a world of conformity, materialism, and political turmoil, and they were ready to rebel. Folk music spoke of change. College campuses erupted in protests. Psychedelics were escaping the laboratories and entering the streets. And on the West Coast, San Francisco was becoming a magnet for the unconventional. Artists, poets, musicians, and spiritual explorers gathered in neighborhoods like North Beach and eventually Haight-Ashbury, forming a melting pot of ideas. Anti-war activism, Eastern philosophy, communal living, psychedelic experimentation, and alternative lifestyles. The counterculture was building. All it needed was a spark. Haight-Ashbury wasn't meant to be the center of a cultural revolution. It was just an aging Victorian neighborhood with low rent and plenty of space for young artists. But by 1966, it had become the unofficial headquarters of a new youth movement. Filling the streets were hand-painted signs, tie-dye shirts hanging from windows, street musicians performing for crowds, coffee shops filled with poetry readings, homemade jewelry, incense, and the smell of patchouli oil drifted through the air. Living in Haight-Ashbury was cheap, communal, and deeply creative. Residents shared food, clothes, instruments, even entire apartments. Everyone was experimenting, artistically, spiritually, socially. Psychologists and writers held public discussions about consciousness. LSD advocates like Timothy Leary encouraged people to turn on, tune in, and drop out. Local bands practiced in the basements of Victorian homes. It was a neighborhood built on the idea that society could be something different, something freer, kinder, more open. And then came the moment everything changed. On January 14, 1967, more than 20,000 people gathered in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park for an event unlike anything the country had ever seen. It was called the Human Be-In. Speakers included counterculture figures like Allen Ginsberg, Timothy Leary, and Gary Snyder. Bands like Jefferson Airplane and the Grateful Dead played free sets. Hippies danced barefoot in the grass while incense burned, and bright-colored banners waved in the wind. The Be-In wasn't just a concert, it was a declaration, a public statement that a new generation had arrived and they were redefining the rules. National media covered the event, and almost overnight, San Francisco became the symbolic home of the counterculture movement. The stage was set for what would become the Summer of Love. As the spring of 1967 turned into summer, waves of young people flowed into Haight-Ashbury. Some estimates say over 100,000. They came from every corner of the country. Some hitchhiked for days. Some ran away from home. Others simply wanted to be part of something meaningful. The neighborhood transformed into a giant outdoor festival. Every day there were impromptu concerts, love-ins, art shows, and street performances. Clothing was homemade, colorful, and often symbolic. Peace signs, beads, flowers, fringed vests, and bell-bottom jeans. Psychologists began calling it a social experiment happening in real time. An entire youth-based micro-society had formed, one that rejected traditional norms and embraced communal living, psychedelic exploration, and radical peace activism. Haight-Ashbury became the epicenter of this new movement, and the soundtrack of the Summer of Love was unlike anything else. Many who came seeking freedom and enlightenment found themselves stranded, addicted, or homeless. The media sensationalized the drug culture, attracting even more crowds and even more problems. By the end of the summer, even the original residents of the Haight felt the movement slipping away. The harmony and idealism gave way to overcrowding, exploitation, crime, and disillusionment. In October, a group of the original hippies held a symbolic funeral called the Death of the Hippie. They marched with a coffin down Haight Street, declaring that the movement had been co-opted and commercialized. The Summer of Love had come to an end. Even though the Summer of Love lasted only a few months, its impact was enormous. It changed music forever. It fueled the anti-war movement. It challenged mainstream ideas about relationships, gender roles, and spiritual exploration. It shaped fashion, art, literature, and activism for decades to come. It showed that young people could create cultural revolutions, not by following the rules, but by rewriting them. Today, Haight-Ashbury remains a symbol of idealism, rebellion, and creativity. And the Summer of Love stands as one of the most iconic moments in American cultural history. A moment when thousands of young people believed that love could change the world.